Hello and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations on New Comic Book Day. And man, the weather has turned warm. It's another reasonable release week as far as volume goes. We're kind of back into that normal swing of things. But we've got all returning favorites this week. Not a whole lot of new number ones, a couple one-shots and stuff this week, but let's get right to it. And what's your pick, Fritz?
Yeah, so for the third time in a row, I've got Metamorpho, the Element Man.
I got to get caught up on this
It's
book.
This honestly might be like the funniest book that I'm reading right now. You just look at this cover and you've got Java in like a tuxedo, Rex doing his best Indiana Jones impression, and then just Kill Bill going on.
Yeah.
It's like, so the whole plot of this issue is after last issue with Mad Mod kind of like causing a bunch of chaos and havoc, Rex and Sapphire are having some issues. And so he decides to tag along on this mission that Java and Element Woman are going on to like try and get Mod and like figure out like what's going on, what's all this deal with Cyclops and that. And so they go have this like crazy adventure down in like Central America. You get like this like, I would never have like guessed that the combination of Java versus Vandal Savage would be something that I wanted.
Yeah.
But like it's so weird how this book is able to like draw that line of like I said, like it's a very funny book, but also like there's this like weird set, like there's these moments where like people are having these like kind of actual serious conversations.
Sure.
But it like there's no like real tonal clash between the two parts. Like they somehow like all flows together still. This book, and I don't know if I've talked about this enough in the other parts, but like so Steve Lieber, the artist, absolutely killing it. Like expressions are fantastic. There's a whole double page spread in here where it's showing Metamorpho and Element Woman like trying to like get through this pyramid and like just this like maze like of them trying to figure out like this is the right spot. Nope, it's another death trap. This is the right spot. Nope, it's another death trap. Like it's so fun. Like there's a couple of particular panels with Mad Mod that are just like, you actually kind of feel bad for him. It's so fun. Like everything about this book, and again without like losing the sense of just like you can understand like there's consequences for things. Like they're like these are despite like how like they might talk goofy or be in these goofy situations. Like these are real people having these real relationships with each other, and it's super fun. The mystery of like what Cyclops is kind of deepens. You learn like it's one of those things that we've talked about here before where like you get one question answered but just like raises like two or three more kind of deal. So that's fun. I really can't recommend this book enough. Like it's just like a perfect like it's riffing on a bunch of 60s stuff without like ever feeling like it's making fun of it or like being too like just like it feels sincere in a way that a lot of times these kind of like parody or riffing books like don't really like have.
Yeah.
Like it's so good. And again, like Lieber's art, just magnificent. If you didn't check out a couple years back, him and Matt Fraction did the Jimmy Olsen book, which is also fantastic. Highly recommended. The Gorilla CNN joke is just so funny in that. Related to a quick side tangent, in case no one, if you didn't hear, because it just announced it last week. Speaking of Matt Fraction, going to be taking over Batman coming up.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
We've got a whole bunch of announcements of creative teams.
Oh yeah, but no, I figured like that one just segue in like quick like, hey, if you're like looking to get into Batman soon, like that's going to be a good time to do it.
Yeah, so, very cool.
Mm-hmm. But no, speaking of returning champions, finishing third arc here.
So I went with Absolute Wonder Woman number 5, and this appears to be wrapping up that first story arc, so one would assume that the trade paperback volume 1 will be issues 1 through 5. Although I guess, because you said that we're getting like a 2-part kind of interlude. So I guess they could go 7, but we'll see. So the Tetracide, right, has been attacking
Gateway City,
which is coastal city. It's coming in from the ocean.
It's nice that
San Francisco, right? I mean, that's
I mean, like it's in the same way that like Metropolis and Gotham are just New York,
right?
Like, yeah. But like it's fun because like has she ever really like had her own city compared to like because like everyone else kind of just seems to have like their own fictional city, and I don't feel like she's ever really had one.
Yeah, I think she's always just kind of hung around Washington D.C. Right?
Yeah, like I think in the New 52 she was in London a bit, but she's never like had like this is like.
That was a weird choice.
Yeah, but like it's super cool. Like she's actually got this place where you can like build up like characters and elements of it. Like it's like if you ever read Starman, one of the best things about that book is that like it treats Opal City like a character.
Right. Yeah.
And like I really hope that they're able to do something like that with this book.
Well, they might have the opportunity. So we get a little more. The way that they've been handling this with new takes on characters often happens is we're seeing what's happening in the here and now in the story, and then we're getting a little bit of flashback so that it gives us the context to what's about to happen, and then that thing happens, right? So we get to see how Circe created the lasso for Diana. What we don't get like the way that the story comes together, we figure out like why it was made the way that it was made and why it does what it does. But we've also find out that Diana has been really uncomfortable with this thing, and that she has really had, it's one of the few times where she's questioned her adopted mother about the way that she goes about doing things and about the differences between them, because they are totally different people.
Yeah. Like it's the interesting thing of just like Diana is absolutely like before the Circe by all implications was kind of like not like a great person, like definitely did some like bad stuff.
Yeah.
But like as much as Diana has like actually like made her this more like loving, caring person, like there is like an element to that still to her, but like they very much establish in a way where like there's reasons for that. Like they're like the world that she exists in like kind of demands that of her to a certain extent.
Right. Yeah, sometimes there are just, I don't know, immovable objects that you have no choice but to go to an extreme in order to be able to do something about it. And so, yeah, without giving anything too much away, that was a really interesting story dynamic. Then we also get a little more depth in the relationship between her and Steve, and that was really cool too. I like that a lot.
This is probably the first and maybe only time I've ever actually cared about their relationship in a comic. Like, because like I don't know, man. I generally don't really like care about Steve Trevor as a character. Like I don't even necessarily think he's bad. He just doesn't do anything for me. But there's something about their relationship here that just like works better. They're like, I don't know what it is. But
yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. There's kind of an, I don't know, idealism in it, or I don't know. It's hard to explain, but essentially Diana brings out the best in everybody around her, and she really leads by example, and the type of respect and admiration that creates in people in her circle. It's just really fun to watch, and I think that those types of characters, when they're hard to write really well, but when they are written really well, they're great. It's very similar to Captain America over on the Marvel side, and that's really cool. Superman's also another good example. But I really have enjoyed the art in this. I know that for some people it's not. I don't know.
Am I allowed to say they're wrong?
Well,
trust me, I understand. Like, art is very subjective. Like, legitimately, you're not wrong for not liking it. I totally there's art that I know people love that I look at and be like, this does nothing for me. Like, there's nothing wrong with not liking something.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. It's definitely not like the George Perez style, or like I don't know, like a Tony Daniels or
Yeah.
like this is very stylistic. It's totally different. I think that it's, I don't know, it kind of, for me, it makes sense with where Diana is coming from. I think her look, it is a little more, I don't want to say authentic, but it's not contemporary, right?
Yeah,
and that makes sense for her to not look contemporary.
Also, again, like in a similar vein to some of the stuff I was talking about Lieber in here, like Sherman, like the way they do panel layouts is so good. Like in all the books, because they, like again, they're doing this, they're doing Batman Dark Patterns. The new volume of Into the Unbeing just dropped. So they're doing 3 books right now, and they all look amazing. Yeah, and it's wild.
I do understand where some people are coming from, though. There, some of the it is stylized. For sure there are panels where it's like okay, that's I get where people's, I just don't personally.
No, yeah, like and that's again like it's the thing of just like. When it comes to art, like I feel the main thing is like whether you like or dislike a thing, the key there is that you can like properly like articulate like what you do and don't like about a thing. Yeah. Like there's some people where like they're like, oh, I don't like this, and like they don't really like get into why, and like sometimes you just like don't know really how to describe it. Like you just got like you can just see something and like on like a certain level just know like this doesn't click with me. Right. But like no, it's, and again that's part of the fun of this is like getting to like discuss like what we do think works with something. Yep. And like, hey man, you don't necessarily have to agree, but it's just always nice to have that conversation out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I have really enjoyed this series. Now we'll throw out there, man, so ordering on these Absolute books has been, shooting at a moving target. So we had a number of people that were kind of slowly dropping off on Absolute Wonder Woman, which happens. Anytime a new title launches, there's always more people buying number 1s and number 2s than there are buying 3s and 4s. Turns out, though, there are more people buying 4 than there were buying, or 5 than there were buying 3 and 4. So we had pared back a little bit to kind of right size our ordering. But I guess when the second printings, or when the additional printings of 1 through 3 came in recently, we must have had a whole bunch of people add. So we're short on this. We're going to try to get more copies in.
So apologies for anyone looking for it. We will have them in as soon as we can.
If you're buying it off the rack, we tell you regularly, please subscribe so that we can guarantee that you get the book. That's really the only way that we can know for sure. Yeah. But yeah, we'll work to try to get more copies. But anyway, all right. Now to a book that if you don't like it, you're just objectively wrong.
Well, without further ado, Ultimate Spider-Man 14. So yeah, this is the case with a couple issues of this book recently. It can be kind of hard to talk about without like just going on forever / just like getting super spoilery, because like there's so much in here that happens where like it's amazing, but like you kind of just have to read it kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But God, this book has to be the thing that's been up here the most, since we've been doing this whole thing, right? Like,
I think that we've maybe skipped 1 or 2 issues, and we did that actively, not because we didn't want to put it up here, but because we felt like other books needed a shot.
Yeah, like I think the only like 2 books that might be like comparable to it in terms of appearances are Transformers and maybe Detective Comics, just because I kept picking it so often.
Sure. But and it comes out so frequently.
Yes, very true. But like, man, this book, so this is last issue we got Peter and Harry being tossed into the Savage Land to be hunted by...
Oh man, was that only an issue ago?
Yeah, no, it's wild how much, like another thing we're talking about, like there's so much happening in this issue. Like there's so many points where I'm like, oh, this is going to be like the end, and the next issue we get this or that thing, and then it's like, nope, it's keeping going, more stuff's happening, never ending, and like because like it's Peter and Harry, they're tossed into the Savage Land, they're being hunted, and there's this like constant building tension of like the closer we're getting, like the more danger everything's dangerous, everything's becoming, and then like the way it all culminates is just like, oh no, like.
Yeah, so this is one of the top 2 major events that's happened in the Ultimate Universe so far. I would put this up there with the fight against Banner.
Yeah.
In Kun Lao, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like one of the interesting things, we talked about this with the previous issue too, is so like there's all these different threads. So like, yeah, you've got the Harry and Peter thing, but then there's also like, you get a lot more of the interactions between like the different Sinister Six members, and
plots inside of plots.
Yeah, people have agendas, that's for sure.
But we have no idea what they are.
Yeah, no, like that's the thing. Like we have like some vague ideas for some of them, but then there's others where it's just like, do you have a plan? Because it doesn't seem like you have a plan. Like you're acting like you do, but I don't see how this like. But like there's that. There's the stuff with the new Black Cat, which is like,
that was cool.
Oh, it was so cool. And it has me instantly terrified for what's going to happen next. Like,
yeah,
it's one of those things where like it's like one of the like more like kind of like chill moments in the book. But if this book has taught us anything, those chill moments are really easy to get upended.
Yeah,
like,
they're the calm before the storm. Careful, Richard.
Yeah.
I thought that was. That was so good.
No, yeah. Like, oh God, and again, like Kaketo, just like absolutely killing it on the art. Like,
it's so good. And so Peter does not have his Spider-Man suit here.
Yeah.
So when we see him in action, it's basically him in like a black t-shirt and scruffy looking because he's been kidnapped and hauled off to the Savage Land. And still just the dynamic energy that is being captured in him throwing a punch or jumping out of the way of danger or whatever. It's just so good.
And like the way that we've talked about this before too, where like he's still like really kind of like learning about like what he can do, what his powers are. Like the way this book conveys that is so good, and it really goes to show that as much as he's like, he really is becoming like the hero he needs to be, like he still has so much to like actually learn. Yeah,
and so we were talking about how the approach to Spider-Man in the 616 universe for the last 20 years, 15-ish, okay, has been to really take it to...
Oh, no, I guess it has been closer to 20.
Yeah.
I forgot it's 2025.
Yeah, so to regress him, but then when they regressed him, they kind of turned him into somebody who he never was at that point.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, how he's just kind of, I don't know, childish and self-centered in that book a little bit? Or just, he's more goofy than he is, I don't know. There's just something not quite right.
Yeah,
it's not huge, but it's off.
And not like that, like elements of that weren't always in the character. Like there's like, you go back and there's classic issues where like, he's like, oh, I forgot Gwen's present. Let me just like steal this thing quick. And like, wait, what am I doing? Like like part of what makes Peter is like, he's not always the best person, but he's constantly trying to like do good for other people.
Yeah,
like,
and so it's what's the motivation behind the decisions? So in this, we come across a classic Spider-Man conundrum. So Peter is put in a position where he has to make an extremely difficult decision.
A few.
Well, sure, honest, right, yeah, absolutely. And they are ethical and moral quandaries for him. And the decision that he makes is arguably the moral, ethical high ground, right? Classic Spider-Man. He's willing to live with the consequences of that. And then the consequences end up being so much greater than he imagined they would be. And now he's going to be tortured by the ramifications of his actions. And that, to me, is kind of the core of the Spider-Man, Peter Parker dynamic. They get the character so perfectly. It's been so good. Yeah. All right, well, we could talk about this, like you said, until we're blue in the face and everybody watching is asleep. But what else did you like this week?
So other stuff. Another quick little thing I wanted to mention. Speaking of books they announced coming up, and also speaking of Hickman and Kiketo, this summer Marvel's got some kind of like big space thing coming from Hickman.
Yeah.
They recently put out a little teaser piece of art by Kiketo. I'm assuming he's not probably doing the actual art on the book since he's still on this, but yeah, they're doing it's a whole space thing.
Could he do two of my favorite characters?
Probably not. But yeah, they're teasing. It's called Imperial. All we know is it's in space. There's like a Nova helmet in like the promo art they put out. I think it's coming in June, so we should know more within the next like couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I just want to like again a bunch of like cool new stuff. New Captain America book coming. All kinds of goodies.
Yeah. Who's on Captain America again?
It's going to be Chip Zdarsky and Valerio Schiti.
That's the one that Zdarsky's going to be on.
Yeah.
And then we've got Kelly and Lansing taking on an X-Men book, right?
Yeah, it's like since it's like the big anniversary for Giant Size X-Men, they're going to be doing like a couple of like
doing the Giant Size.
Yeah, it's going to be like a series of Giant Size one shots where it's like Miss Marvel's been tossed through time, so she's like at landing in like various big mutant moments. So like the original Giant Size, Dark Phoenix Saga, Age of Apocalypse, House of M, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yep.
And then it sounds like there's going to be like something else kind of like coming out of that. They've been teasing some like big X-Men stuff coming with like Free Comic Book Day and that.
Yeah, there's a shake-up happening with X-Men again. Although it sounds like it's kind of a light realigning.
Yeah, there's there's some titles ending, some stuff getting shuffled around, but. Yeah, no, so like it definitely looks like there's some good X-Men stuff coming down the pipe.
That's typically kind of what happens in the comic book industry as we go into spring and summer. There's usually some shake-ups and some new stuff happening. So yeah, it should be exciting. All right, so what?
But back to this week, actually speaking of X-Men, Ultimate X-Men continues to also be amazing. We kind of come to the end of like our big second arc here. A lot of, like very similar to this issue, a lot of big things happen. Some things that like are going to have really big repercussions for this book and potentially some other like there's maybe some more like there's been some underlying stuff, the mutants going on here that between that and like maybe some of the resistance stuff you see over in Ultimate Wolverine like might be coming like more to the front this next year.
That would track. That would be a good point of connection.
Yeah, but no, so that continues to be great. Justice League Unlimited. I mean, it's Dan Moore getting to draw all your favorites. Like, how could you not like love that?
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, no. You were telling me about the new Godzilla.
Yeah, the Godzilla. So Godzilla versus America is going to have a bunch of one shots. So it's Godzilla taking on different cities, and we start in Chicago, Chi-Town. And so it was 4 different little stories all in there. So it's a little anthology, and the first one in particular was really funny. It involves one of those fan guys that comes in on a parachute with a fan at like sporting events, and his name is Fanguli, and he's beloved in Chicago until something goes awry and he becomes the villain.
I have to ask, does he look like Fanguli at all?
Yeah,
okay, good.
Yeah.
That makes me very happy.
Yeah.
No, the way you described the story to me, that just part of it alone makes the whole book like worth 3 days.
It was really funny. So then he comes up with this plot to redeem himself in the eyes of Chicago, and really probably what he should have done is move to like Green Bay or Milwaukee instead, where he would have been accepted. But so Godzilla gets involved, and there's a Mecha Godzilla, and and so then there's another one on the L, and then because of course he can't. And then the one at the very back of the book I was telling you was kind of had like a Scott Pilgrim kind of inspired art in it, and that one was just kind of funny. It's about a gal who ends up fighting Godzilla. So
other new books announced. I keep like there's so many books they announced. There's a bunch of new like Godzilla Shared Universe books coming from IDW this summer.
Yes,
like that honestly looks super cool. Like it. God,
Oh, and we've got a Sonic crossover,
Yep, there's. They also announced the new Power Rangers Turtles crossover coming.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of crossovers, the big one they announced, we don't know basically anything about it, but there is going to be, I think this fall, DC and Marvel, for the first time in 20 years, are doing a crossover thing.
Oh, man.
And it sounds like each one's going to be putting out like a one-shot of some sort. And that's all we really know.
Yeah,
and,
that'll be bonkers.
Oh, it's going to be wild. Like, I'm sure... Like, I'm guessing, like, San Diego this year, like, the big thing is going to be like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Well,
but,
of
like,
the omnibuses that have come out recently, the DC Marvel Amalgam and Versus ones were the most heavily ordered.
Oh, yeah, no, they, like... Most people are pretty sure that's the reason. They're just like, hey, people really like it when we make things together. Maybe we should try that on.
Also, we should mention that Amazing Spider-Man is getting a renumbering, which means that you need to sign up for the new title. We don't want to just assume that you want to get it, but we also don't want you to miss out. The order for that title went in this past Monday. So we're hoping that we're going to have enough copies for everybody. You know, we ordered more than we are ordering for the current title. But if you want to guarantee that you're going to get your Amazing Spider-Man still, you have to subscribe to the new #1.
Also, man, like they got Pepe Larraz is one of the main artists on the book, and man, does he draw a good Spider-Man?
Yeah, very
I mean, it's Larraz, so he draws everything to look amazing, but. Oh, dude, like the preview pages they put out where it's him fighting Rhino are super good.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that they start having a little more direction with the book in driving an actual story. So this new #1 should give us that opportunity. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there will be a whole bunch more books up here next week. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, and stop on into the shop. Subscribe to the books that you want to make sure that you don't miss out on. That's the only way that we can guarantee that you get them before somebody else does. And we'll be back next week with more Pulp Picks. Until then, enjoy the reading. Hopefully one more week. We'll see what's going on with this whole thing that I mentioned this morning. That could be a big monkey wrench, but...
I mean...